Tommy, I thought you brought up a really good point, the NCAA making themselves obsolete, right?
Pointless.
And that I think plays twofold because Sean, you brought up the transfer portal too. So they're making themselves obsolete in the money game, which is not good for the NCAA because they've always had the control and power over that. But now they're also becoming obsolete in the way that the transfer portal works, and the rules that they've had set up are being overstepped, and they're trying to rewrite it or whatnot. From an insider's perspective, what information do you have, Alex, considering the NCAA them potentially becoming fully obsolete and the Power Five potentially creating their own head of state, per se, that would have the overarching power of college football?
Yeah, so the SEC and Big Ten are the two conferences to watch in regards to that. Obviously, those are the two biggest conferences. They have the best athletics. The Big Ten has excellent education, excellent academics. Not like that matters in this world,
Well, that
but
makes that
we didn't
makes
come
for
here to play
rich that
school.
makes for rich
Uh,
graduates who want to see their schools do well, though, Alex.
True.
True. That is very true. Still can't compete with SMU though. But um, at any rate, yeah. Overall, I think the Big Ten and SEC are going to take the reins on that. It's already being talked about that in 2031, it's expected that the Big Ten and the SEC are going to grow even further than they already have. I think we're going to see kind of a lull in that growth until then, but there's already talk of places like Kansas, places like Oklahoma State, Utah, and other like big name, like Big 12 schools moving that direction. So I think what you're going to see from the smaller conferences, the Big 12 and the ACC, and the group of five to a degree as well, is finding some way to keep up with the Joneses to where you make your conference desirable for TV revenue because in the end, TV revenue is the biggest
Hmm.
driver of all of this. Is the Big Ten and the SEC have the biggest TV contracts, and that's the main reason why they're the most successful in terms of conference growth and conference superiority. And the Big 12 is definitely going towards that. I like what Brett Yormark is doing with the sponsorship programs that he's activating and talking to different TV outlets about hosting Big 12 games. I believe TNT is up there as a potential host for Big 12 games and kind of the Turner network as well. Maybe not CBS, but the Turner network in general. But overall, TV revenue is still going to dominate that landscape. And no matter how much there is in NIL, how much there is in revenue sharing, that's going to be the main determinant as to where we go from here in terms of conference realignment. So
Are you implying that ESPN ruined college football, Alex?
I want to quote Bengino here by saying SEC, and I forget the rest of the quote, but it the SEC and ESPN are pretty tight. There's a
Really?
reason Nick Saban's on College Game Day now. So
I was so I when as you were answering that question, Alex, a thought came into my mind, and you kind of like mentioned it a little bit. Where does that leave Conference USA? Where does that leave the MAC? Where does that leave the Sun Belt Conference in this what seems like a power vacuum for dominance on TV and with NIL money and players and stuff like that?
ESPN Plus, but uh, no,
Hey, I pay for it.
yeah, I probably would too. But there's a lot of uncertainty at the group of five level for sure. Uh, like I said, there is some effort from certain conference boards that are trying to make themselves known. I know the American, after losing, their cash cows, SMU and a few others, Houston, Tulane, etc. They're really trying to build off of themselves. I think getting both service academies for the American certainly helped out. I mean, the service academies, everybody wants to watch them. Army Navy is one of the biggest games of the year, if not the biggest, and in terms of like the regular season.
Mhm.
But you have to wonder what teams, or excuse me, what conferences that don't have that option of picking up, the service academies. You have to wonder, and don't have any other ideas outside of that. You have to wonder where they're going to go. Are they going to create a completely new division? I've heard there's going to be kind of another division while the SEC and Big Ten kind of work as the AFC, NFC of college football. I've heard talks of that too, and it's hard to say where the group of five is going to end up within the next 5 years and within the next 10 years. So it's it's going to come down to which schools and which conferences can adapt and overcome the best. And I think the American is a prime example, at least in the group of five, of being proactive and making money moves. So,
Mhm. Not reactive, like essentially
right,
everybody else is kind of doing right now, like the Pac-12.
right. Yeah,
Jesus,
yeah. Gosh,
don't get me started.
we're
Okay,
gonna
we'll be
pick
here.
up
We'll be here
Gonzaga.
all night, Alex. We'll be here all night. You get me rolling on the Pac-12.
Oh yeah, that was years of gross mismanagement, that's for sure. So.